may have seen news recently of Jeff Sessions seemingly being caught lying to Congress during his confirmation hearings. Al Franken asked him, did you have interactions, or asking if you found out that somebody had interactions from the Trump campaign with members, with the Russians, what would you do? And then out of nowhere, Sessions said, I haven't met with them ever. No, that hasn't happened. And then it being found out that Sessions actually did have meetings during the RNC and one other time. Now, his defense, according to his spokesperson against that, Sarah Isgur Flores, says he was asked during the hearing about communications between Russia and the Trump campaign, not about meetings he took as a senator and a member of the Armed Services Committee. Now, in that, she seems to imply that when he was doing the meeting, he was a member of the Armed Services Committee. That was the hat that he had on. However, if you look at the way that this is very like inside journalism, but the way that he expensed his trip to the RNC during that meeting, he did not do so under a line item that was paid for through his capacity as a member of the Armed Services Committee. The Wall Street Journal said Thursday he used campaign funds for the travel rather than official Senate Armed Services Committee funds. Sessions' campaign account made 2 payments of $1,395 to the Sheraton Cleveland Airport on July 16th, 2 days before the Republican convention.
I would have killed to stay at the Cleveland Airport. We were way, way, way out.
Yeah. So that's that. It seems like this is building that case. Now the question is this a case we need to build? How does everyone feel? Sessions has since recused himself from any investigation about Russia and the Trump campaign. Is this, when you see this, what do you feel? What are you thinking when you see this?
There's 3 people that have already been fired by Donald Trump because of connections to Russia, right? You have Michael Flynn, National Security Advisor, who we all know just got dismissed. You have Paul Manafort, who's campaign manager. And the reason he was fired is obviously because there was people in the intelligence community came and told the Obama administration and the Trump campaign, look, there's these communication going back and forth. There's financial interests going back and forth.
Millions
you need to
of
get rid of Paul Manafort. That's
right.
why we get Steve Bannon, right? And then you have Carter Page, who is setting up an oil deal for $500 billion worth of oil in the Arctic Ocean with the Russian government.
500 billion.
Billion with the B.
That's right.
Right. And these are the people that have been fired already by Trump. And I think there's a great quote that just sums up the whole thing. It's
Carter Page, first of all, by the way, they denied first was even working for the Trump campaign.
Right, and still have it on their website that he was working for them, by the way, which is really funny. But there's a former Bush White House aide, Nicole Wallace, this is what she said. It's inexplicable now why so many people had so many meetings with Russians that they forgot about. They're either the most forgetful team in political history or the most intimate with Russia. And I think that just sums it all up.
Yeah, and it matters. It's important because Russia almost certainly hacked the DNC emails and then released them in a way that they thought, it seems to me, and I don't know for sure, we'll find out if there's ever an investigation, but I take them at the word that sources say the reaction in Russia was they were looking to undermine Hillary. They were looking to weaken Hillary Clinton as president. Didn't really occur to them that the guy would beat her, right? But bonus, extra bonus. So yeah, it's serious, and of course it's worth investigating, and of course Jeff Sessions is lying. I mean, because the question, because if that's true, then all you have to say is, well, obviously I've met with the ambassador, I'm a senator.
Oh, but wait, this isn't just any ambassador, okay? This guy, Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, he's Russia's top spy recruiter in Washington, D.C. He is a spy, he's known as a spy
what
master
Ben we're talking
in Washington,
about
D.C.
is David Remnick and Evan Osnos of the New Yorker got into this deep from being in Russia, listening to Russian television and all. And that's what they're saying too, is if you're in Russia, it's obviously clear that they were doing everything they could to just delegitimize Hillary a little bit because they assumed she would be president. She's a war hawk. They wanted to find some way to not get into a war with us. So they tipped the scales a little bit in his favor, thinking it wasn't actually going to go that way. And now they're all like, whoa, 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 like we didn't know.
Well, I don't think again, I think it's a little extreme to say they weren't, I mean, obviously they didn't, I agree that they didn't want a war. Hillary Clinton, I don't think anybody is about to go to war with Russia, but they didn't want Hillary representing a strong NATO. Weakening NATO has been Russia's goal throughout, a weakened administration in Washington. It couldn't be more valuable for the Russians.
But that's loose. Like what you got to do is, as Deep Throat said, you got to follow the money.
Totally.
And if you follow the money in this case, it spells treason.
Right?
And what happens is there's a $500 billion oil deal in the Arctic. They want to dig up all that oil.
Again,
but the economic sanctions keep them from the technology that Exxon owns that would allow them to dig up there.
Sure, I'm trying to answer to you why they're talking to the Russians, because the Russians are coming to meet them, and then they say no, and it's conjecture of why they say no. But like we have the people that have dived into the age of technology, and those that haven't, and the ones that haven't, they seem baffled that we can pull up information from 15 years ago and prove something. Like they'll lie, and they're like, "Oh gosh, you have evidence from that?" It's like, "Yeah, dude. Once it's on the internet, it's there."
Right, because you can't tell the truth about treason.
Right, of
You
course.
can't be like, yes, I sold our country down the river for 30 shekels of silver. You can't just come out and like say that, right? And the reality is that Putin picked Trump to be our president, not because it's gonna make America great, right? He picked Putin to be our president because it's good for Russia. Or I'm sorry,
That's a Freudian slip. It's all right. Keep it moving.
Same difference, right? Putin picked Trump to be our president because it's gonna be great for Russia.
Yes.
So yes, it is worth obviously investigating, and it is significant that Jeff Sessions recused himself, because the more steps you get, the more likelihood that you get a special prosecutor with teeth. And if that happens, there'll be a legitimate, real investigation that will hopefully weaken Trump so politically that we can get past this without it being.
He'll be impeached.
Right,
Now,
without it being as grave a crisis as it could be for this country.
Now, the process of finding the special prosecutor, the days of Ken Starr are over. As of 1999, that special prosecutor that we are all familiar
Independent counsel, right?
Independent counsel, that is not how it is. They allowed that to lapse, probably because both parties were like, wait, they're gonna screw with us if there's an independent person for us. So either they have to reintroduce legislation to legitimize that specific flavor of independent prosecutor, or they can follow an independent, a slightly different named entity that would still fall within the Justice Department, that would still fall within the Attorney General's office.
What you're leaning at is that, no, I mean, recusing himself, yeah, he's recusing.
Yeah,
But that only means you're taking his word for it. You think he's
It is.
That's what's so
all
frustrating
all the
about
other
it.
dudes.
It is.
Like,
The
of
idea
course
that,
that's-
like,
But
I
it
mean,
is-
even if they didn't find out about this meeting, like the guy, it's so difficult because this is an appointed position. So he has to think 100%. Like it's so impossible to divorce any conflict of interest because the job you wanted and you got, that you signed up for on March 6, 2016, when you fully endorsed Donald Trump, that came to fruition. Of course you're gonna be on that guy's coattails.
And there's a great quote from Sessions where he says, he's talking about Bill Clinton, right? And he's like, if the chief law enforcement officer of this country has been found guilty of perjury, then he can't sit in any government office any longer. And I'm just like, when Republicans really like, getting rid of government officials for lying about perjury until it's one of their own. And I just keep wondering, where are the Republicans of conscience in this country?
There
They're
are
gonna put
some.
loyalty,
There are some.
There are
duty
some,
to country
but-
above loyalty to party. Where are they?
But he's their buddy, man. And he served with them in the Senate. I mean, that ridiculous notion when Elizabeth Warren was told to essentially be quiet and sit down, or however they phrased it, because they thought she was being disrespectful. I mean, the guy's nominated for Attorney General. That's his job now, nominee for Attorney General, not your nonsense comedy with a fellow colleague from the Senate. This is what gets Jeff Sessions, and it needs to be much more than this because people are standing with him right now. I mean, it is the 39th most reprehensible thing Jeff Sessions has done in the last 7 years. But if it's the thing that gets him, great, so be it.
Right, that's and with the Jeff Sessions and his integrity, the argument that they should confirm Gorsuch because he went so flawlessly through a lower court confirmation process, like if the way they went through a judge appointment process is any reflection on someone's character, look at Sessions, completely rejected from that process. It's very frustrating.
I'm stealing this, but Neil Gorsuch, there's real questions about Trump's ties to Russia. There needs to be an investigation. And until that happens, I just think we should let the next president fix the Supreme Court justice. I think that's the only fair thing to do. There's an election in 2020.
In addition, about Jeff Sessions, there are other people who are on the Senate Armed Services Committee. The Washington Post reached out to a ton of them, or to all of them, and of the 20 Senate Armed Services Committee lawmakers who responded, every senator, including Chairman John McCain, said they did not meet with the Russian ambassador last year. The other lawmakers on the panel did not respond.
Weird that the senator who was most supportive of Trump is the one guy to meet with him. That's just a coincidence.
And this is like how a political party commits suicide, right? If they don't stand up and say, look, meeting with the top spy in DC for the other side, right, for the Russians is like wrong, it's treason. We have to get rid of these people. We have to fire Jeff Sessions. We have to get rid of Jared Kushner. We have to get rid of Steve Bannon. If you don't do that as the Republicans in this country, then like you're just committing suicide as a political party.
Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. TYTnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
do it now. tytnetwork.com/join.